This is not an American issue. This is a global issue. We have got to lead the way in working with Russia, China, India, countries all over the world in standing up to the fossil fuel industry and in telling them that their short-term profits are not more important than the future of this planet. We know exactly what has to be done, and that is to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. The future of energy in America is not coal, it is not oil, it is not gas, it is wind, it is solar, it is geothermal, it is sustainable energy. And when we make that transformation, we clean up the environment, we combat climate change, and we create millions of decent-paying jobs. Now, I have been roundly criticized for saying this, so let me say it again. I believe that health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. Now, the affordable, I am on the committee. I'm on the committee that helped write the Affordable Care Act, and it has done a lot of good. We've done away with this obscenity called pre-existing conditions. Some 17 million people now have insurance who previously did not. We have done away with discrimination against women in terms of the cost of their health care premiums. But today in America, we remain the only major country that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right. The UK does it, France does it, Germany does it, Holland does it, Italy does it, Scandinavia does it, Canada does it. And in my view, we have got to do the same thing here in America. Today, 29 million people still have no health insurance, and many of you are underinsured with high deductibles and high co-payments. Is that right? And we are being ripped off in an unconscionable way by the drug companies who are charging us the highest prices in the world for our medicine. And on top of all of that, we end up paying by far more money for health care per capita than any other country on earth. In my view, we have got to have the courage to take on the insurance companies, take on the drug companies, and pass a Medicare for all single-payer program. And when we do that, we will save the middle-class families thousands of dollars a year on their health care costs. Now, everybody here knows that real change never takes place from the top on down. Real change historically always takes place from the bottom on up, when millions of people come together and say the status quo is unacceptable. 100 years ago, when workers were being ruthlessly exploited, when they were treated like animals, when they had no right on the job, when their wages were inadequate, they stood up and they said, we are human beings, we're going to form unions, we're going to bargain collectively. And when workers formed unions, wages went up and every American worker benefited. And I want to take this opportunity tonight to thank the International Longshore and Warehouse Union for their support. And to thank the many other millions of union workers who are supporting this campaign. For hundreds of years, African Americans and their allies worked together to say that in America, segregation, bigotry, discrimination was not what this country is supposed to be about. It didn't come from the top on down. It came from people who stood up, who fought, who went to jail, who were killed, who were beaten, to say that in this country we will wipe out racism. We forget this, but 100 years ago, a very short time from an historical perspective, 100 years ago, women in America could not vote, could not go to the schools they wanted to, could not do the work and the jobs they wanted to do. But women and their male allies said that in this country, women will not be second-class citizens. And change took place from the bottom on down. And then, if we were here, and I want you to think about this, we were here 10 years ago, somebody jumps up and says, you know, I think that gay marriage will be legal in the United States by the year 2015. Legal in 50 states. Very few people would have believed that would have been possible. But what happened is, for decades, the gay community and their straight allies said that people in this country have a right to love each other regardless of their gender. And against horrific bigotry and hatred. And my state of Vermont was one of the leaders in this country in the fight for gay marriage. And I saw, you know, we saw the tension and the prejudices that took place. But because of the struggle of the gay community and their straight allies, we achieved gay marriage in 50 states in this country, from the bottom on up. And let me give you another example another example that this city should be very proud of in terms of real change. This city, if we were here 7 years ago, and somebody jumps up and they say, Bernie, you know, the $7.25 an hour minimum wage is a starvation wage, it is a disgrace, we have got to raise it to $15 an hour. What most people around them would have said, $15 an hour, you're nuts. You are trying to double, more than double the minimum wage. It's too radical an idea. It can't happen. Think smaller. But what happened is that all over this country, people in the fast food industry, people who worked at McDonald's, at Burger King, at Wendy's, they went out on strike, and I was privileged to march with them in Washington, D.C. They went out on strike, they protested, they went to the community, and they said to America, we can't live on $7.25 an hour. And then, right here in Seattle, your city council said, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And then suddenly Los Angeles, San Francisco, $15 an hour. Oregon, New York State, $15 an hour. And millions of American workers will be able to live with a shred of dignity because of that movement. And that is what change is about. It is what change has always been about. It is when people look around them and say the status quo is not acceptable. And other people will tell them, you can't do it. You want to wipe out racism, you want to wipe out segregation, you want to wipe out homophobia, you want to end discrimination against workers, you can't do it. Don't think so big. I disagree. And right now, we are at a pivotal moment in American history where millions of people are looking around this country and they're beginning to see that grotesque levels of income and wealth inequality not acceptable. Trade policy which costs us millions of jobs, not acceptable. Millions of people leaving college deeply in debt, not acceptable. Women working for 79 cents on the dollar, not acceptable. The United States having the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country, not acceptable. A corrupt campaign finance system, not acceptable. A broken criminal justice system, not acceptable. The fact that we're the only major country on earth not to have health care for all or paid family and medical leave, not acceptable. And that is where we are today. Millions of people are saying the status quo is not acceptable. We need a political revolution. I am the only candidate for president who will tell you a simple truth, and that is that no president, not Bernie Sanders or anybody else, can address the major crises facing this country unless tens of millions of people stand up, fight back. And demand a government which represents all of us, not just the 1%. And if we stand together, black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American, gay and straight, men and women, people born in this country, people who came to this country, if we stand together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Our job is to think big, not small. Our job is to have a vision of what this country can be. And it is a vision which says that all of our people can have a decent standard of living, where we have a vibrant democracy, where all of us determine the future, not just the few. Now, Donald Trump is not going to become President of the United States. He is not going to become president because the American people understand that bringing people together is what makes us strong, and it trumps dividing us up. The American people understand that togetherness, supporting each other, that when you are in trouble, we are there for you. When my family is in trouble, you are there for us. That togetherness always trumps selfishness. And most importantly, the American people understand that we are not going to elect a president who insults Mexicans and Latinos, who insults Muslims, who insults women, who insults veterans, who insults African Americans. And it was a candidate running like he was in a cafeteria food fight in the 8th grade. But most importantly, I think, the American people understand what every major religion on earth has taught us, whether it is Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Sikh religion, whatever religion, has always taught us that love trumps hatred. Tomorrow morning, 12 hours from now, people of Washington will have the opportunity to make a very profound statement, and that is that Washington will help lead this country forward into a political revolution. If there is a large voter turnout tomorrow, we will win. If there is a low voter turnout, we will lose. Please come out tomorrow. Bring your friends and your relatives. Let's make history tomorrow. Thank you.